Most noticeable about Fallen Angels is its use of wide-angle lenses. In this video, I'm going to show you which lens to purchase to get the same look. But first we need to find out which camera was used to know which sensor the lens should cover. Luckily, back in 1995 there weren't that many cinema cameras, and it's known Wong Kar Wai used the Arriflex BL4 from 1988 till 1997, before switching to the Panaflex in 2000. The Arriflex BL4 is a Super 35 camera, so we mainly need a lens that covers Super 35 or an APS-C sensor. And now to the focal length we need. Online discussions a lot have speculated it is the 9.8mm t2.3 Kinoptic Century Tegea with a wide-angle adapter to make it into a 6.8mm lens. But there isn't any footage of the 6.8mm lens, and it is hard to compare if it's really true. But also the lack of behind the scenes is hard to see if it's really that lens. Checking the film credits, you can find Cylon Films credited for the rental equipment. But checking out their rental list, I could not find the 6.8mm attachment, nor do other rental houses in Hong Kong has this specialty item. So instead of just more speculating, why not just do a lens test to check out which field of view looks the closest? So from all the information we gathered, we now know that we need a lens that covers Super 35 or APS-C sensor, a focal length that is roughly around 6.8mm to 9.8mm or even bigger, and a aperture that is t2.3 or faster, because the movie was mainly shot wide angle at night, but also using a lot of the location or ambient lighting and not using own light. And the lens either have a very close focus or unable to use a diopter for close focusing. So the first lens I found that fits this requirement but also I own is the Laowa 7.5mm f2, though this is not a 6.8mm lens, but there isn't a lot of ultra wide affordable lenses out there that actually is this wide. Though this is a Micro Four Third version, it kinda covers the Super 35 enough for this test. The second lens I found is the Meike T2.2, which I think would get you the closest to the look of Fallen Angels, as I have another theory it is not the Tegea but a totally different lens. But also special thanks to Meike for sending me this lens so I can do a proper comparison. Also, I'm using my Sony A7C in Super 35 or APS-C mode, so I can use both lenses on the same camera. Also helping me out posing in front of the camera is Wang Lao, who is a Dutch-Chinese actor from the Netherlands. And the test is mainly about the lens itself and about the focal length and how it looks, but not about the lighting, so I'm not using any lights to light these scenes. The first test is inside of a restaurant where we're replicating Michel eating some noodles. Using the Laowa 7.5mm, it does feels way too wide and deforms his face far too much. So I have my doubt that any of the shots were really shot with the 6.8mm. Looking at the Meike 10mm t2.2, it looks much more similar to the original shot, but also it doesn't deform his head, making it looking very odd. But also looking at the background, we don't capture as much ceiling as the 7.5mm. Switching to another location, we're replicating Leon Lai shooting with guns. Also to note, we are using toy guns and not real guns. With the Laowa, we can see quite a lot of perspective distortions, making his hand much bigger than his head, but this is not what we want. With the Meike 10mm, I stood a little bit too close, but you can see that the perspective distortion is less and actually looks much better. The next shot we're replicating is of Fai Hong, also known as the guy who is forced to eat ice cream and looks quite a lot like Sai Wang. And again with the 7.5mm, we are getting quite a lot of perspective distortion because of how wide the lens is, and he starts to look like an alien. Because the closest focus on the Meike is 30 cm, I'm using a +2 diopter so I can focus much closer. And yet again, the Meike looks much better for the close-up shots, and also I think that the 6.8 just isn't correct, and all the focal lengths that they use for the close-up wide-angle shots are mostly around 10 millimeters. For the last shot, we're filming inside of a tunnel to replicate the very last shot of the movie, which is the motorcycle shot through a tunnel. And again, the Meike is the better out of the two because it has a much more pronounced blurred background, because it isn't as wide as the 7.5mm, where much more is in focus. Now to why I think that the Meike is actually closest to the lens that is used, we have to look at the next movie that they make, which is Happy Together, but especially looking at the making of, which is Buenos Aires 01. As there are several deleted shots or scenes where it's noticeable they made use of an ultra wide angle lens. And also there is behind the scenes shots of the camera and lens combination used in the movie, and there is a very notable wide angle lens used, which is the Zeiss 10mm t2.1, which is very close to the Meike 10mm t2.2. As both lenses are for Super 35, same focal length, and also the t-stop are quite close to each other. And both of these lenses don't have any barrel distortions. However, if you look at the movie, you might have seen that certain shots don't have any barrel distortions, which is most likely shot with the Zeiss 10mm t2.1. However, shots with barrel distortions is most likely a second different lens, which I will address in another video. So if you want to see that video, make sure to subscribe to this channel, and I hope you find this information quite interesting, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye!